the church of Podgradina. When you entered into the church, you found its empty walls devoid of light or life. Searching above, you found no sign of the priest. Searching below, though you did find signs of recent passing, marks on the floor suggesting the passage of feet, as well as markings on the floor suggesting iron striking it hard or dragging across it. No sign of the priest. And in the room in which the priest would sit and sleep, where his simple cot of straw lay, you found instead bloodshed. And more importantly, you found papers concealed in the upper floor, hung with a crucifix around them over the banister, on which a brass holder would typically keep a candle lit. Illuminated, the church provides a place of warmth and sanctity, and yet it provides you no comfort or companionship, save the weary souls with you. Thus, as the mirth and rotted blood intermingle in the air with the burning tallow, as your every sound echoes in the empty halls, the scene is yours.
What do the papers say?
It is written in French, thus the words are able to be read by all of you. It reads, "This account is written by Piero, sword brother of the Knights of St. John, recording the testimony given by the heretic whereby this interrogation was conducted by the very sword brother Piero. The lawful rite of torture was carried out by Piero and Francis in the church to conceal the heretic father from his flock, whom he sought to corrupt. At first, the captive heretic, Father Heydrich, did refuse to give testimony, whereupon my brother was instructed to encourage him to do so and perform the arts. Let it be stated that the interrogated Heydrich did long resist the persuasions. However, he did finally respond to a query as to the place where his victims lie. Neath the wood hanging over this holy place did the father discard of those children and women whom he so brutally violated and performed his depraved sexual acts upon in the name of Satan. And verily did this Father Heydrich confess to being one of the horrid Bogomils. When asked if more of these foul heretics existed in the village and where the fiend might hide that we came in pursuit of, an instruction of good Gontia de Dampierre, he did refuse. Brother Piero was again obliged to exercise his persuasive art, which in due course the father did cease to resist, greatly fatigued, whereupon he did suddenly find his voice and began to respond at length to the repeated query as to where he met with the demon. Thereupon I was decreed to write down verbatim what this heretic dare say. May the Lord forgive me for hearing these heretical speeches, which by my duty to Holy Mother Church I am bound to set down in writing this day. Thus spoke the heretic. I began my pilgrimage within the land of Satan, for the world is of the devil, and only heaven above belongeth to God, where the people were drinking and fornicating, and the mockeries of a false prophet did lay before me as my eyes were reopened. So I left this corrupt place, and at once I saw another abomination. For before me the sign of the Antichrist, outstretched by light of moon. Proud Babylonian tower that I had stood in my entire tenure, I did see it now for what it was. So I walked in the direction of the setting sun. When I left the village, I came upon a crossroads and didn't know which way to go, so I fell to my knees in prayer, and my prayer was heard, for the finger of Christ rose from the ground to show the right path. On I went through this sinful land, and suddenly I heard a sound of 1,000-headed crowd at work, and I saw there the jaws of Baphomet, and his broken teeth jutted up to the heavens like the tombstones of the Moabites. So I went through the mouth of the beast, and by the road I saw the seat of the angel. I was hungry, so I pleaded for the fruits of their labor to fill my belly. And I was invited verily into the home of the angel. I went further in and was greeted by the strength and resisted the devil's temptation to flee in terror of this angel who showed himself to me. For I know that to look upon the face of the divine is to fear God. But I was not swayed by his deception and stayed firm in the presence of the holy. And then finally did there I see the veritable truth of the matter, as I was accepted to be a conduit for this angel and his divine power, as he gave unto me the blessed blood of the Lord. Just as Jesus Christ rose and his apostles rose from death, now too I am verily saved from death, and am to explore the multitude of sin and virtue of this world in totality to better understand the way of the great Father above before I join him. The papers end.
As I'm reading along, they called him the cursed what?
A bogomil.
Bogomil. Okay, what is a bogomil?
They were a
type of
form of
heretic.
heresy, and apparently very much beneath your own feet lay the bodies of victims.
Ian shuffles uncomfortably.
Roland listened on for a little before he eventually began walking around. Once the letter is over, he turns back to the rest of the group. We must go beneath our feet, find a place, this place that is spoken of in the letter. Perhaps we may yet put the bodies to rest.
Out of character, did the papers specifically mention where he met the fiend?
Only the way by which he followed to find him.
Is it enough for us to follow?
As long as you can interpret heretic. But yes, it is said where in the text, not only could you follow the path to find the fiend, but also, or supposedly find the fiend, but also where the bodies in this place are hidden under one of the stones that is apparently somewhat false, beneath the overhang of the church to look down upon the holy place.
We know where the bodies are in the church, but the most pressing is trying to follow the leads for these fiends that we're after.
I must find these poor bodies to lay them to rest. If they are
We
killed
can
by
lay them to rest once we make our way back after destroying the fiend. As of right now,
Monsieur,
we could find them and give them some semblance of last rites.
oui, that is all I ask, please. And Jean will immediately turn and look for any false stones that the bodies may be hidden behind.
As well as Etienne.
Perception investigation. John, you are kept behind for a moment as you see with the precision by which Etienne seems to hone in on the spot. Roland and Conrad only spying it a moment after, as Geoffroy seems to stare out one of the stained glass windows, transfixed by what lay outside. The stone is large enough that a man could lay down upon it and spread out his arms and legs in either direction, and still not cover its entirety, but it would fit his whole body. As you find purchase to pry with it, it is difficult. Strength and athletics, anyone trying to lift it, whereas Geoffroy, perception and alertness. The moment that you begin to lift upon the stone, the three of you struggling to lift it together, you can finally hear the shifting of the stone grating against itself as it begins to be pulled upward and fall back, appearing to be thicker than you would have imagined. Not like a heavy board or even beam, but thicker still, about the width of 2 fists of a man together. And the moment it is open, a foul odor rises upward, the stench of bile and feces, the stench of death and blood. And as you stare downward into that pile, your faces cannot help but remain slack with horror as you stare into the dozen faces of small children. Their wrists appear to have been bled, their bodies nude, some of them huddled, shriveled in corners, their faces all upturned, some of them missing eyes. And there are women too, young women, attractive women, fertile women, women who died naked and cold of hunger and starvation. And laying amidst them is the body of one of the other Crusaders. He is yet clothed in his armor, the signs of death evident in him. In Etienne's mind returns the voice. Huddled together, furtive and vulnerable, rats in a maze. A spark without kindling is a goal without hope. Meanwhile, Geoffroy, outside of the window, just on the other side of the glass, though it is difficult to tell, what initially drew your attention was the shape of a large hand pressed against the glass. And as you stared more closely, you saw a pair of gleaming eyes peering in through one of the lower sections of the red-stained glass. The finger taps against the glass as though testing you. Those eyes unmoving, unblinking, watch. And then, Geoffroy, you hear on the other side of the church, at one of the other windows, the same.
Joffrey, so enamored, or so distracted by this hand, these eyes, the tapping. Doesn't really even notice that the others have moved that stone and are peering down to a horrifying sight. There's a strange sense of curiosity, a certain pulling. He can't begin to explain it or understand it, but especially after hearing the letter the and its words, he can't help but be curious and want to step outside. He turns around and says, I'm gonna go check on our horses.
I shall go with you. It is unwise to go alone.
I don't think it even registers in Etienne anything which is going on around him as he just stares down.
Less focused on the corpses, though that is very concerning to him. Conrad would look at the large, heavy stone that they just moved. Out of character, it was a stone, right? I'm not mistaken.
It is made of stone. However, the moment Roland begins to pull his hands away, it heaves its way back onto you and Etienne, making you catch yourselves. No single man could hope to lift this.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ponder on. Pushing it back up, I would think.
Strength and athletics. Conrad, with a fair amount of ease, you are able to push it upward. And as you push the stone back, moving it into place as Conrad's fingers whiten, his shoulders are almost level with his ears as he tries to keep it up, you can hear in your head, "You're welcome," as the stone settles into place, pointing up vertically, held by its own weight on a foundation beside it.
Looking into Etienne, I would say, let me see that note. Did it say that out of character? What was the name of the preacher? The false.
You mean the heretic?
Yes. What was his name?
His name was Radek.
Hradek. Did that note say Hradek moved this all by himself?
It doesn't mention. The character, how deep is it?
If you were to descend into it and let the stone lower over you, you would be able to stand with the top of your head just brushing it.
How many bodies would you estimate is in here?
Too many!
6 children, 4 women, and 1 crusader that you can see.
Doing a sign of the cross, I would say. Oh, what a waste of life.
Meanwhile, Geoffroy, Roland, as you can hear the shift of the stone and the force put in by the men before there's a by Etienne and a word of solace for the dead by Conrad.
Come on. I want to make sure the cold hasn't caught them, Geoffroy says as he begins to head for the entrance that they had come in.
Roland follows shortly behind, looking back towards the others, making sure they're okay. Satisfied with that, after seeing them having moved the stone, he'll pick up his pace.
as the two of you march towards the door, clasping it and wrenching it open. The wind immediately begins to gather as you step outside towards the horses. You find that they are all yet stood where they were before. Yet they seem uneasy as they shift upon their hooves. And furthermore, Roland, from the saddle of your horse, you recognize a Crusader's cross hanging. It jostles against it, disturbed by the wind, slapping against the leather of the saddle.
This is not my cross, right?
Nope.
We are not alone.
Think so? He asks as he begins to, look around at the environment.
I know so. Back inside, we must inform the others.
Perception alertness, both of you. Roland, you can see a dark figure at the path just before it reaches the gate coming onto the grounds of the church. Squat and small, the black figure seems to linger there for a moment. Meanwhile, Geoffroy, you hear a quiet psst coming from behind you, just as you see what appears to be a half circle, like a head of a figure, lurk around the side of the tower of the church.
Roland has his hand on his sword. His other hand is pressed up against Geoffroy, gradually pushing him back. He stares at the figure in the squat figure in the gate's frame. Inside, mon ami.
Yes. Geoffroy kind of snaps out and quickly begins to move back inside the church, looking back and making sure Roland gets in safe as well.
Roland makes sure that he is the last one inside, closing the door as he does so. Geoffroy, watch the doors.
He nods quickly and stays close to the door, hand on his saber, but not drawn just yet.
Nylan,
Yes?
with how heavy the stone is and its position currently, could we technically push it over so we don't have to hold it?
As it is, considering it is a square and it's very stable, it is resting upon what appears to be a slight divot that normally it would conceal, bearing its weight on the support of the stone around it that would typically make up the floor of the church. However, all it would take is a good thump on the other side, a hearty one, admittedly, and it would topple down with a good chunk of weight.
Okay. Looking to Etienne, I would say, tomorrow, if we are still here, we will bury them. It would be death to try to do it at this time of night.
Our first course of action is to find the fiend.
Unless that document had some sort of instructions on how to find the fiend, I'm uncertain of where to begin.
It speaks in riddles of clues that we might follow.
As if on cue, Roland walks over to the others. We are not alone, figure in the gate. Prepare yourselves.
What was it?
Black squat, standing still. There's a cross on my saddle which was not there before.
Perception and alertness. As your eyes peer to the windows, searching the stained glass for any sign of movement, Jean collects himself for where he had braced against the heavy stone, obscuring the dead as he cleared his throat and watering eyes from the foul stench in sight of such a horrid, fleshy pit. Along the windows, you can see a black figure moving as they approach the door, followed by an echoing
Roland says to the others, "Steel yourselves. The worst is yet to come. Stay away from the windows. Prepare."
As Conrad began to reach down into the pit, he would hear the footsteps approaching the door and then the knock. His head would arch over his shoulder back towards the doorway where where Roland just came in. His words would get caught in his throat as he wants to answer the door. But then he looks up and says, "It is surely the people trying to fuck with us. We should barricade the door. Ignore them."
"You shall not use such foul language in this holy house."
Hearing the knock of the door that he is right outside of, Joffrey responds. Who's out there?
Etienne puts his hand on the hilt of his sword.
From the other side of the door, you hear, "Is that you, young Crusaders? Please, young ones, I come to bring you tidings. You are all in danger here."
Etienne looks over to Roland.
I brace my knees as I start to stand up. I walk towards the door unless stopped.
Roland sticks his hand out to Conrad, kind of stopping him in his tracks. "Careful, Conrad."
Jean would catch up with the others and say, "Wait, before we open the door, let me do something." Jean, getting to the door, with it still closed, would grasp his cross and impose his holy faith into the area around him, aiming to repel any supernatural entities that may wish to harm them, and recite the prayer thus: "Lord, I pray not for tranquility, nor that my tribulations may cease. I pray for your spirit and your love, that you grant me strength and grace to overcome adversity through Jesus Christ. Amen."
Roland gives a nod of appreciation to John's verse. He echoes an amen. As he turns to the door, his hand on his sword, he begins stepping forth, staying really close to Conrad.
Putting his hand on the door, Conrad would grab the handle of his knife on his belt as he starts to slowly pull the door open.